Welcome everyone to Better Business Conversations by Practice Better. This is a series where we bring health and wellness industry experts to share their knowledge with our community. And today we have the pleasure of hosting a live session with Sarah Cook. So I'm really excited to dive into today's topic and ask Sarah some questions. But first and foremost, let's quickly introduce her so you all can get to know her. Sarah Cook is a copywriter. She's also a StoryBrand certified guide and a former naturopathic doctor. She's the creator of the Wellness Copy Shop and founder of wellnesswriter.com. So what she does is she helps entrepreneurs, so health entrepreneurs, ditch the blinking cursor. I'm sure we've all been there, and create high converting content that builds their credibility, their impact, and their bottom line. So welcome, Sarah. I'm so glad to have you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, if you want to share a little bit more about yourself with our audience so they can get to know you, please feel free, and then we'll dive into today's topic.
Sure. So like you said, I'm a copywriter for the health and wellness community. I'm also formerly a naturopathic doctor myself. So I'm going to date myself here, but I graduated from naturopathic medical school in 2004. And that happens to actually be the same year that Facebook came out. So if that tells you anything, at that time, we clinicians, practitioners, we were just hanging a shingle, networking locally. We were not doing a lot of online marketing. We were not doing a lot of content creation like nowadays. And it actually wasn't until 2013 when I completely pivoted to 100% writing for this community and not practicing as a clinician at all. At that time, the thing was blogs. So every supplement company, every practitioner thought they needed a blog and an e-newsletter. And I was helping to write all those things. And so at that time, I really used three tools. I used PubMed. I used a software called Bookends to keep track of my references. And I used Microsoft Word. But of course, that was 10 years ago. And so kind of the progression since then has been a journey of really, I have essentially been shifting as the online marketing space has changed to continue to figure out how can I best support practitioners in creating their content, in doing their copywriting. And I think what's funny when I look at that journey is that I can kind of trace it by a series of tools that I've brought in. And so, for example, StoryBrand, right? I became certified in StoryBrand as a tool to help with messaging. And then templates. So I created an entire library of copywriting templates as a tool to help practitioners write more effective sales copy. And so now here we are, and the latest tool to hit the scene is Chat GPT. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, Brittany, about Chat GPT. I think it's an amazing tool. I think it really can be helpful in a lot of different ways for making us more efficient. But especially, and I think this is really a point I want to make sure to get across today, is that I think what we need to really focus on is using it to help us write better content and better copy rather than just making us faster. Because I think if we just kind of hand over our writing to that machine thinking this is going to make us faster and that's really cool, what we get really is at best is mediocre, at worst is actually embarrassing. So I hope we can get into some of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know that today's topic, let us know in the chat if you've been seeing this all over headlines and articles. It's attracting so much, buzz and attention across the board, all different industries. So really excited to have Sarah here to learn about how this is a tool that we can use in our own industry, being health and wellness practitioners. So I'm super keen to learn all of your tips and tricks. I know that I've poked around on Chat GPT, and like you said, I've gotten some really terrible results and I've gotten some mediocre results. So there is a little bit of a trick and a knack to getting the type of results that we're after using something like this. So I'd love to ask you a few questions if you're up for it, Sarah.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Sure. So for anyone who is tuning in, who's maybe like not at all familiar with ChatGPT, can you just give a very kind of quick, brief overview of what this tool is?
Of course. Yeah. So it is created by OpenAI. To find it, all you need to do is just go to Google and put ChatGPT, right? It's completely free. It actually was made public in November of 2022. And so anybody can get a free account. You log in, there is the option to purchase a paid account. And so the difference being the free account uses GPT 3.5 and the paid account uses GPT 4. So it's a little bit more advanced. You get a little bit better results. It does a little bit better job being able to tell you what it can and cannot do. And so there is that option, to use a free or a paid account. But for anybody who's kind of just getting in there, it's very, very intuitive to use. Literally, it is a chat. And so we just can ask questions. It gives a reply. And so on first glance, it is just actually like a miracle. Like you can literally just say, hey, write me an email, and it writes you an email, right? But there's so many nuances about it that, ways to use it effectively, ways to use it good, ways to use it bad. And all of these things. So, but essentially it's literally it's a form of generative AI that will generate content in response to your prompts.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's great foundational information for anyone that hasn't poked around and used it yet.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, or I guess leading into the next question, with ChatGPT being new to a lot of people, that comes with, of course, a learning curve. So from your perspective, what are some of the biggest pitfalls or mistakes people make when using ChatGPT?
Okay, this is such an important question, and it's really top of mind for me right now, which, by the way, we might want to start with a disclaimer of the time and date because this is June 13th, 2023. And what I'm going to share is things I'm seeing right now and trends that I'm seeing right now. And because ChatGPT is still early days, still things are changing very quickly. It's certainly possible somebody could watch this recording a couple months from now. I might say things a little bit differently, but trends I'm seeing, pitfalls I'm seeing right now. And in fact, even over just the last week or two, I have noticed an increase, an influx of emails landing in my own inbox that I can recognize 100% were written by ChatGPT. And I'm sure I'm also getting emails that were assisted by ChatGPT that I can't tell, that I can't notice, okay? But the ones that concern me are the ones that kind of scream to me, I was written by the machine. And what it concerns me so much that actually I have started a Google Doc that I have titled ChatGPT Red Flags, where I'm kind of keeping track of, there are some words, some certain individual words that ChatGPT tends to use a lot, overuse, some phrasings, some even like how the content is organized that I have recognized now from using the tool, but then I recognize it, I'm seeing it out in the wild, right? And what's funny is I'm seeing it from all different industries and coming into me from different places. Even, for example, one of the coaches at my son's rock climbing gym sent an email, and it was inviting parents to volunteer at an event, but it was written by Chat GPT. Now, do I care? Like this, the reason I think this is concerning is because as soon as I notice, I flip and sort of think, it feels disingenuous. I don't feel so connected to whoever's writing this, right? And that's not what we want to come across, especially writing marketing emails for our business. But I also have seen emails come in from kind of bigger name business coaches who I respect, I admire, and I see, oh, that was written by Chat GPT, or I've seen it come in from practitioners. And so I think I wouldn't ever like read one here publicly. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I did read some to my son the other night. He's 14. And after I read about 3 of these emails to him, he got up to walk away and he says, I embark on my journey to the shower and I will emerge transformed. And then he just started chuckling and he was like, nobody says embark. And I think like that he completely hit the nail on the head just by noticing that what is happening here, and the reason that I'm noticing they're written by the machine is because they're breaking that rule number 1 of copywriting, or rule number 2, however you count them, to write like you talk. And so, you know, you asked pitfalls, and I can only guess what's actually happening on the other side of that email of the people sending it to me. I think there could be one of 3 things happening. One thing that could be happening is that whoever is sending that email, they may just not feel like they're not a writer, feel like maybe don't have a lot of confidence in their own writing. So they see ChatGPT generate this thing that sounds pretty darn good. And so they just trust, okay, it's better than I can write, I'm going to send it. And it's this sort of almost like turning over your autonomy to that machine and like turning over your own thought process and just trusting that it's going to do a better job, which I would say that's a pitfall because it's not necessarily going to do a better job. If you can talk, you can write. And like I said, we want our writing to sound natural. So that is one possible scenario of what's happening as a pitfall. I think possibly, and I do think maybe one of the emails I received this week was this situation. It's also possible these people might be hiring someone to help with their content, and they don't know that that person's using Chat GPT. And so I think that is something to be aware of. If you're having anyone help with your content, ask them and make sure you understand, well, if they are using it, in what capacity, in what way. That is certainly something that might be happening. And then I think the third thing that might be happening, and the reason I'm really seeing an uptick in this, it could be that people are just experimenting, in which case, great, in which case this will be a blip, in which case they'll figure out how to use it better. They'll hear conversations like we're having today. And so that, you know, this trend will pass and people will start to figure out how to use it in a little bit better way to get more natural types of output. So I think big picture is that, you know, as we use this tool more and more, we have to also not lose sight of those really foundational principles we already know work about creating content, that we already know work about copywriting, like make it sound like you talk, as one example.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying. I've definitely received messages or emails where I can tell that there's been some assistance in the writing of it. So, you know, if I'm ever experimenting with it, it's something that you can get your prompt written, get your answer generated, and read it out loud. and feel like, is this something that would actually come out of my mouth? So I think that's a really good awareness to bring to people who are looking to use this tool at today's date. Like you said, that there's going to be so much more evolution into this, but as of right now. Thinking about, from our viewers' point of view, more often than not, our community of health and wellness practitioners and business owners are just really simply busy, working in their business, on their business in so many ways. So oftentimes they're looking for a way to streamline their work or systemize, automate, all that good stuff. So with that in mind, what are some of the examples in ways that practitioners can use Chat GPT to make their content creation easier?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I can share a few ways that both, I guess, that I'm using it as a copywriter and also that I'm recommending to, especially like some of my members who use my content and things like that. So first way that I love to use Chat GPT is as a brainstorming assistant, coming up with messaging points. So pretty much anything that I'm going to sit down to write, anything anybody sits down to write, you should first know what it's about, right? What's your message? What's the point? And this is where I bring in StoryBrand. Typically if I'm going to write something, the first step that I do is I get clear on the messaging points and I use StoryBrand as a framework to do that. So StoryBrand gives us essentially like 7 categories of talking points. And so, for example, I used to do this from my mind, right? But now what we can do is I can go through each of those 7 sections of the StoryBrand framework, and I can have ChatGPT give me ideas. And so, for example, one of the sections is the pain points, the problems. And so let's say I'm going to do promote a course, right? That's about, say, helping perimenopausal women through that transition naturally. And so I'm kind of figuring out the messaging points. Oh, I want to touch on some pain points. What am I going to say, right? I can go in to ChatGPT and I just give enough context like, hey, I have this course for perimenopausal women, help them naturally, right? What would be some pain points or some problems they're struggling with that would make them want to buy this course? And it's going to give me all these ideas. Now, does that mean I'm like never going to actually go for a walk and clear my head and think of ideas for myself? No, I'm still going to also do that, right? But it's so much faster. And to my point of, let's see how it can help us write better copy, it will come up with ideas that I probably would never come up with myself. And so, yes, it's faster, but yes, it can also give us these fresh ideas and, different angles to take. So as brainstorming those messaging points, I love that. Now, typically I will take those as ideas and then I will word them, in my own way or whatever. But just getting those ideas, like in the past, that I could spend a day writing a StoryBrand brand script, right? And now I can do the whole thing in like an hour or even minutes. So that's a great way, brainstorming. I guess the second way, it's a bit of a big topic, but like helping to put more personality into the copy. So this actually comes from noticing how I could pick up things written by ChatGPT. It really made me think like, wait, like exactly what is it that makes copy sound human versus machine? And it's the personality. But then it's like, okay, how do we systematically figure out how to put personality in then, right? And what I figured out is, for one, it's amazing. You can have ChatGPT analyze existing body of content and tell you what's the personality. And so that if you're wondering like, well, what is my tone? What is my brand voice? Like, what is that style I want to get across? You can take a bunch of content you have that you like, feed it to ChatGPT and say, describe the voice and the tone and the personality of this. And then you can actually feed it back to ChatGPT and say, well, now like rewrite this in this style. So personality is like, I actually just put together a workbook on exactly how to use ChatGPT to analyze your brand voice, because once you have that, then you just copy and paste it back to Chat GPT when you're working on a project and say, no, like, you reword this, but use a style that is more relatable, that is more punchy, that is more witty, that is more fun, whatever your kind of style is. So that again is something used to take forever. Like if I was taking on a new client, I would read through a ton of their content and I would try to see patterns. I would try to pull out phrases they commonly use so that I can like write in their style. But now ChatGPT can do it like instantly and tell me, oh, here's phrases they use. Like, so that's like number two, like using it to kind of understand your personality. And then that gives you insight, right, in yourself of your personality and style of your writing. But like I said, you can also feed it back to ChatGPT so it will write more in your style. I'll give you one more. Okay. A third way. This is actually a way I recommend for my members in repurposing content. So I have a membership of where I provide, it's called Nurture Unleashed. I provide health content every month that my members can share on social media, in emails, etc. And I've always told them, hey, take it and repurpose it in multiple ways. So, because what I provide is essentially like long, juicy social media captions is how it's delivered. And so if you've got this caption that's like pushing the 2,200 character limit of, say, an Instagram caption, I've always told them, hey, repurpose it as a reel, repurpose it as a carousel, like put it in a weekly email, put some together as a blog. And a lot of people never repurposed, they just copied and pasted because, like you said, time, right? But now I am telling them, hey, look, you can take this long, juicy social media caption. You put that in a Chat GPT and you say, now, well, write me a 15-second video script to go with this, or break it up into 4 parts for a carousel post, or write this as an email kind of thing. And so the reason I love repurposing like this, rather than just say like going into ChatGPT and having it right from scratch, is because a huge, like the quality that we get from ChatGPT hugely depends on the quality of input we give it. And so when we're giving it something we know is already quality, we know that it's true, we know it is related to recent relevant research, and we ask it to repurpose that, we know we're going to get something more quality out. And then we can use some of these other ideas I just said, like repurpose it in this personality, right, in this tone, or repurpose it, but for the messaging towards perimenopausal women instead of generic to anybody. And so it's kind of like the more input and context we can give, then the better we're going to get out.
Yeah,
that was a lot.
Yeah,
that was a lot.
so many ideas. I'm sure everyone's heads are spinning with ways that, you've given us, tips, but also so many strategies and ways beyond just like write an email, so many other ways to use this tool and to really dive in with further context. I guess this all speaks to, like the importance of defining your brand voice or working to get to that point and finding your niche and things of that nature, because it's going to help utilize these tools in a more robust way. So for our last question to kind of wrap up this live session, I know a lot of practitioners just want the writing done for them. They want to focus on their own zone of genius, like seeing and supporting clients, and not necessarily get too bogged down by the necessary parts of the business that frankly need to be done, but maybe they don't feel exciting or they're time consuming. So what about having ChatGPT draft entire emails or social media posts or sales pages? Do you have any tips for those bigger pieces of work that people are looking for assistance with? But what's your point of view on that?
This is where templates become essential. So for example, you cannot go in and say, write me a sales page. It's not going to work. This is where we need to have the strategy in place and take that to Chat GPT and go part by part. So that example, say it's a sales page, we have to have that template and know, okay, this is how the content should really be organized on the page. And then we start section by section, and we can go into Chat GPT and say, hey, we're going to work on the headline. And especially if you have a bunch of formulas you can use for headlines, give those to Chat GPT. Say, well, use these headline formulas. Give me like 20 ideas for headlines on this topic, right? And then we go on to the next section. Oh, the pain point section. We specifically work with Chat GPT on that. So kind of going section by section is what the way that we have to approach it if we're having it help with something like an entire sales page or website page. Similar to emails, I would say you can also do a similar thing. Like if you know the structure of the email you want to do, like breaking down, even like the example I gave before, oh, I'm going to touch on problem and pain points and getting ideas. Or if you have actually like a sales email template that you can give to Chat GPT and say, follow this template, and then you provide the data points it needs, right? Here's what the offer is, here's who it's for, here's how to get it, right? The more you can provide, the better you get back. So I do think templates, formulas, maybe if you don't have a template, even telling ChatGPT to say, follow a certain kind of copywriting formula, like there's the AIDA formula. So you say, hey, use, attention, interest, desire, action, right? Use the AIDA copywriting formula to write an email. And so just you need to be kind of like in charge of coaching it on to get what it is that you want out of it.
Yeah, great tips. Thank you so much, Sarah. I see so many comments in our chat saying good stuff. Never thought to use ChatGPT like this. Very helpful. So thank you so much for joining us today. Is there any place where people can go to connect with you and to continue to learn from you?
For sure. My website's wellnesswriter.com. I am also on Instagram, primarily sarahcook.wellnesswriter. I can let you have the link to that personality workbook, which I think is a great free resource for people to get started with, and that'll get you into my email list. So all good stuff. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So we will be sending out a replay email this afternoon with a recap of this live session, as well as some links of where you can go to connect with Sarah, as well as the bonuses that she has just shared with you. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Happy use of Chat GPT. I hope it elevates your experience if this is a tool that you have already been dabbling with and experimenting with. And we will see you again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brittany.